by alphonic.com.
This is Backstage Sonoma, your all-access pass to the local music scene.
Coming to you from beautiful downtown Santa Rosa, this is the Backstage Sonoma podcast. And now, here's your host, Steve Roby.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Backstage Sonoma. I'm your host, Steve Roby. Today we've got a special treat for you. Joining me is Daniel Pingrey, the multi-instrumentalist and composer for the band Tae The Neighborly. The group has created waves with their soulful pop, R&B, and funk blend. Hailing from Green Bay, Wisconsin, they just released their debut album, Self-Help, and Daniel is here to talk about their music, their tour, how they've managed to blend cake baking, wink wink, with rhythm making. We'll also dive into a few of their standout tracks from the debut album. So, without further ado, let's get started. Here's We Can by Tae The Neighborly.
Try to make things brighter as the years have passed. So have the ways. We've tried to lift our neighbors. Where did the love go? Where did the talk end? We need some help to make this better. To start now than never. Can we ride now so the rest can see that if we love, that if I love, that if you love, we can be.
That was We Can Be by Tae The Neighborly, and Daniel Pingrey joins me now. Hi, Daniel, and welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Great. For those just discovering your group, could you tell us how the group came together and who makes up the band?
Of course. So we were a band that came together during the COVID times. I think all of us in the band it's safe to say we're all from very different musical backgrounds. It doesn't take a very big leap of the imagination to put it in your head that during COVID times, it was a real weird thing to be a musician. There were shows if you really wanted to look for them, but the feelings of, should I even be playing a show right now? What is a show? I think every person on earth probably went through their own existential crisis. But we were a handful of musicians in the Wisconsin area who all rallied around Tae. She had been starting to do things, and word got out that she was doing shows and putting a band together, and it was the drummer Andy who was my link to the band. Then we ended up in this situation where there weren't really shows to play, but we could still get together and rehearse, and we holed up in this weird building in Wisconsin and just rehearsed and played. And all these songs came out of us not having our usual outlets for playing music. Take myself, for example. I had just escaped the country music dungeons of Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
I had been there for a little over a decade, and I had been a hired gun, and I'd played on Broadway and all sorts of bands. COVID times in Nashville were real bad. So I got out of there. I grew up in Wisconsin, which is why I was back. And I guess I'm the keyboard player, so I brought the mess in my head from country music world into this group, and Kelvin, the guitar player, came from a jazz background. Andy, the drummer, just plays all sorts of stuff. The bassist that's on the recording had been in a lot of jam bands. And then Tae has this wonderful, soulful voice, and we just had all this time to mix all that together. And at the other side, we got, the recordings that ended up as the album Self-Help.
So I understand there was a little cake baking involved in the process too. Can you explain that for our listeners?
I would love to explain the cake baking thing. And let me tell you what, the cake baking adventure is not quite what it seems. There was a show. I'm gonna tell the truth about the cake baking thing. At about every single show we show up to and thing we do, people know about this cake baking story. And it all comes back to a show we played it was in Wisconsin somewhere. Off the top of my head, I'm going to forget where it was. But it was early 2021. It was like a high school auditorium, local thing. And they asked us for a bio. And we did not have one because we had only played a couple of shows at that point. It was all still so new and loosey-goosey. And Tae told me, Daniel, they want a bio. What do we do? And I told her, I got you. And so I wrote this bio about how we all lived on 5 different floors of an apartment building, and one person had sugar, one person had eggs, one person had flour. I thought it was the most ridiculous possible thing that had ever been put to print. And we sent it to this place. We didn't even know they were putting it on the internet. They said they were just going to print it in their little flyers for the show. And somehow, just because this was like the first time we had ever had a bio for a band or something, it made its way onto the internet, and we've never been able to escape it. I'm not mad about it.
Okay. Can anybody make a cake in the band?
Oh, I'm sure we could put our noggins together and whip something up.
Okay. But that's good to know.
I'm a Claire Saffitz guy myself. I'm a big dessert person and cookbook kind of guy.
Okay.
Anyone out there is a Claire Saffitz person too.
Okay. That's a great story. I love it. That's great. So let's talk about the debut LP, Self-Help. It's out now, and it's getting a lot of attention. What was the inspiration behind Self-Help? Are there any overarching themes you were trying to explore with the album?
Well, it's definitely a very positive album. We wanted it to feel positive. We wanted it to feel fun. Tae naturally writes a lot of songs with very positive messages and uplifting messages. And it's a weird place to be as a musician because, like, when you play happy songs, you're always walking the line of you don't want to take it into saccharine or cheesy territory or something.
Right.
Hopefully, we stayed on the right side of that line. But they're all, I don't know, the songs are uplifting and also fun at the same time. We like to keep it bouncy and dancey. And this album is the cream of the crop of everything that we've been stewing with live. I'm super happy with how it came out and how everything came together. So the title track it's definitely the song that people are always buzzing about after the shows. It has this, it's a lot of our songs have big energetic builds over the course of the song, and Self-Help is unique in that it breaks through into it doesn't really break through into a second song, but the vibe totally changes about 2/3 of the way through. That feels very celebratory, and I'd been talking about having our songs feel uplifting.
Sure.
That really is the top of the pyramid in certainly our live shows, and the feelings on the record of energy just bursting through, and it's something that has left so many people with smiles on their faces at shows. It felt like it had to be the one that gets the title track.
Yeah. Does the title track or the album's title have to do with anything? Like it almost, to me, it sounds like something like left over from the pandemic, like a therapy album, if you will.
Sure, there certainly is that.
Okay.
I would say that it goes deeper than just pandemic times. I know that I don't want to speak for all of Tae's life here, but I know that she certainly has not always had it easy in life. And you would be hard-pressed to find someone with a better attitude about life and doing things and letting no one tell her no than her. I think that song started as a reflection on that spark that everyone has to have inside yourself. If you can't help yourself, who can you help?
Absolutely. Let's talk about the group's sound. It's an interesting mix of pop, soul, and funk. How do you approach blending these genres? Is it something that happens naturally, or is there a deliberate effort to create that fusion?
It's 100% something that just happens. I had mentioned earlier how all of us in the band came from different backgrounds. I think the sound really is a reflection of our live presence. When, we played, I don't know the number, but we played so many songs before we ever recorded anything. And this sound that we landed on is just everyone's version of what feels right for these songs, what feels right for this show, what feels right to keep the ball going between members of the band and keep smiles on our faces and smiles on the faces of people in the crowd and keeping things moving. It definitely was something that was shaped at shows.
I understand the group is traveling with a newborn baby while you're embarking on this tour, so that must be interesting in itself.
It sure is.
How are you managing life on the road with your family and parenthood and influence? Has it influenced the music in any way?
I think it's all still too recent. Tae had a baby, I want to say about 3 months ago.
Oh, okay.
So this is a very new experience for everyone involved there. We wouldn't be able to go on the road if there wasn't help from family and community, but it's been quite the adventure.
I'm sure. Have you got any great road stories you can share with the newborn?
It turns out that little Louis seems to like life on the road even better than he likes life at home. So maybe he's destined to be a musician after all.
All right. Let's dive into some more of the tracks from Self-Help. One of the standout songs is Missing You, which carries a lot of emotional depth. Can you tell us what inspired the song, and was it based on a personal experience?
Yeah, Missing You feels like one of the biggest successes to us of the album. On face value, it's a song about missing the people that aren't in your life anymore, whether that's because they're just not in the life or maybe they've passed. And certainly that's what this song is about there. But we struggled with this song so much, trying to figure out how to take it from what we had been doing live and translating it into something that works in recording in people's headphones and the way that people listen to music outside of a show setting. And it felt like we just banged our heads up against the wall over and over with this song, trying to translate it. Nothing ever sounded right. It was on the chopping block multiple times until it was after we had just spent time in an actual proper recording studio. And it was the time that I think a lot of bands make music this way, where finishing touches happens in home studios. And it was in that setting that the first half of the song came to be. I think everything in the first half of Missing You came from home studio recording times. We ended up finding this spaced out, more ethereal feeling vibe. There's a lot of synthesizers. There's a bunch of pedal steel guitar. And the way that it feels ethereal and still lands into the full band groove halfway through the song. So, I don't know, it felt so right. We tried so many things, none of them worked. And then finally, in the midnight hours of clicking on little buttons in our home studios, things finally worked. And then I think it's most of our favorite in the band that actually made it onto the record.
Well, let's check it out now. This is Missing You by Tae The Neighborly, and you're listening to Backstage Sonoma.
I'm just calling 'cause you've been on my mind. If you were still here, I would've just dropped on by. I don't know if you'll get this or if it's best you didn't. I thought I'd give it a try. I'm just calling 'cause you've been on my mind. Sometimes I wonder if you already know how we are and how our lives unfolded. Will you still have been there? Will you have grown old? At least I could have been the story told. Sometimes I wonder if you already know. If you're I'm trying to reach you from down here on the ground. What am I supposed to do? 'Cause I don't really pray. All I wanna know is if you're okay. I just thought I'd see if you're around. Can you hear me? Do you know just how I've been? Can you feel me? I'm missing you, my friend. Are you up there? Have you found your way again? If you're listening, well, I'm wishing you the best. I'm just calling 'cause you've been on my mind.
That was Tae The Neighborly with a new track from their debut album, Self-Help. And Daniel Pingrey is my guest today. Daniel, the group is based in Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is known more for football than music. How has that, being a part of that scene, influenced your music or your journey as a band?
It's a very strange place to be because as we play shows around the country, there's always the moment where we know, all right, here it comes, time for Daniel to say where we're from. And you wouldn't believe the looks on people's faces I
Really?
see when the words Green Bay come out of my mouth. Some people instantly go into scowl mode. Some people, you can see it, like the gears turning in their heads of, oh yeah, Green Bay. Wait, I know that, but I don't know anything about that at all. The town itself is such a mystery to people, and it's so totally dominated by the good old Green Bay Packers. I'm not much of a football guy myself, and the town is just so dominated by it. I always joke around that there's obviously the football stadium in the middle of town, and there's this immense G logo, the Green Bay Packers logo that you're picturing. I always feel it's like the eye of Sauron gazing down upon Mordor,
Oh, Lord.
just like keeping watch on everything that's happening around it. It's not my thing.
Sounds a little strange.
Oh, it's totally strange.
Well,
And Green Bay itself is pretty small. And so it's always felt like this place to say to get out of sounds too harsh. But it feels good going out into the world and sharing that more happens in Green Bay than just football.
let's play another track from the new album. This one's called Let It Rain. It feels like an emotional release. What's the story behind this track? And how does the imagery of rain tie into the overall message?
Let It Rain is definitely a song about release. I think Let It Rain it's about letting yourself be in the moment and allowing yourself to feel what you feel. If the world feels heavy, you can let it feel heavy, and it doesn't mean it needs to hold you down. You can let yourself be surrounded by it, and life keeps going, and life keeps moving on always, no matter what. So I think it's a song that works in that space. It's another one that has always felt like a powerful moment in a set live. It's probably I would say our biggest moment in this set has always Let It Rain. It really builds up and feels great when it has that final release in the last chorus.
That was Let It Rain by Tae The Neighborly, and it's from their new debut album called Self-Help, which is available now. Daniel, before we wrap up, what do you hope listeners to take away from the debut album, Self-Help?
I would love if listeners had fun with the record. We love having fun playing the live shows. If it makes you want to come out to the show, then I think it really did its job. But music can be so fun, and we really tried to put that into our songs and our record and our show and just everything we do. I think if people come away with that from it, then we're making the world a better place.
Daniel, your live shows have been described as having more kick than a bagged up mule and going down smoother than a can of beans on the campfire. What can the audience expect when they come to see Tae The Neighborly perform live in Healdsburg?
There's no question, no one forgets Tae's voice when they hear her sing. She's one of these people that we hear it all the time at shows. They hear her sing and the same line comes out over and over again. Oh, I wouldn't have thought a voice like that comes out of someone who looks like you. We know they always mean it as a nice thing. Tae is not a very large human, and she's got this great big voice. I think that's really what a lot of people remember. And then, of course, there's us in the band. We're trying to keep it light, keep it fun, keep it dancey, keep it funky. It's always a good time. And I feel like we try and wrap all of that up with having these really powerful moments like the peak of Let It Rain and the powerful moment of the release of the end of Self-Help. We're always really chasing those moments and doing everything we can to bring the audience with us when we get to those places in the songs.
Nice. Let me remind our listeners, Tae The Neighborly will perform on Thursday, November 7th. Doors open at 6 p.m. and showtime is at 7. It's a free show, so everybody come on out. If you'd like more information, go to littlesainthealdsburg.com. There will be a link in the show notes of this episode. And Daniel, thank you so much for being here on Backstage Sonoma. And good luck with the rest of the tour, the new album, and dealing with a newborn on the road.
I mean, tour is always an adventure, but it's an adventure, all right.
Thanks again for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay. Backstage Sonoma, we'll be right back.
Hey musicians, would you like to be a guest and promote your upcoming concert and latest release? It's easy. Just email the host at backstagesonoma@gmail.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
Thanks for listening to the Backstage Sonoma podcast. Join us next time for more great interviews and music from local and touring musicians. You can find us on the web at backstagesonoma.com.